Sarah, and today I'm bringing to you the second in my series, Sarah's Summaries. Basically, we just left off. I gave you a recap of Lady Midnight, and now we're just gonna jump into the Lord of Shadows recap. If you need a little bit more of an intro to know what this series is, go to the beginning of that Lady Midnight video, even if you don't need it. Anyway, I'm just trying to get these videos done, so let's just get into the recap. Let's just do it. Queen of Air and Darkness is coming out this week, and this is much needed. Let's go. Okay, we start out this masterpiece of a book with Kit trying to steal all the Shadowhunter treasure in the Institute. Jace shows up and he stops him and he's like, hey man, you're a Herondale. Being a Shadowhunter is great. Maybe don't steal all like the bling from the Institute. Like maybe don't run away. Like that would be cool. I'm a Herondale, you're a Herondale. Like let's be friends. Meanwhile, Emma, Julian, and company are all at the pier fighting sea demons and fighting sexual tension because obviously we've got Emma and Mark fake dating. Christina knows about it, but she and Mark want to bone each other. We've got Julian. He's not happy about the situation. He thinks they're real dating, but everybody wants to have sex with each other. Well, besides the people who are related and Emma and you know what I'm saying. After an epic Ferris wheel fight with a weird octopus sea demon thing, they are summoned back to the Institute where Jace and Clary are waiting to talk to them. In private, Clary confides in Emma that Jace proposed to her, but she said no. Obviously, Emma is very confused by that, and Clary confesses that she has been having dreams and premonitions that she is going to die soon, and Emma's also very confused by that. So Clary tells her that if she does die, she wants Emma to tell everyone that she knew she was going to die and that she wasn't afraid, and Emma's sort of like, weird flex, but okay, and she agrees to do it. Julian and Kit go to the Shadow Market to find some medicine for Uncle Arthur. Obviously, since Malcolm is dead, they don't have anyone to give him medicine anymore, and while they're there, Kit mentions to Julian that Ty is autistic. He's never heard that term before because, again, for some reason, Shadowhunters always are like rejecting mundane ways, even mundane science and health. I didn't even realize that until reading this book, that they were like so anti-mundane that he didn't even know what autistic means, but he's a little taken aback by that, and Kit's kind of like, okay, whatever. So then they're walking around the Shadow Market, and this trip doesn't really go well for them. They end up getting kicked out of the Shadow Market because they're Shadowhunters and nobody wants them there. Meanwhile, everyone else is searching Malcolm's house for clues about what's next. They find a fairy glove and a tentacle, which are both probably important. The glove actually has a symbol of the Unseelie King on it, which might mean that Malcolm was working with him, which isn't really a good thing for anyone. Then all of a sudden at the Institute, all these Centurions barge in unwanted, and we discover that Perfect Diego actually has a secret fiance that Christina doesn't know about. And they've been back together for a while, so that's not going over well. Then we have Ty telling Kit and Livi that he thinks the Centurions are up to something, especially Zara, Diego's secret fiance, because she is a total bitch and she seems hella sketch. Jace also gives Kit the Herondale family ring before he leaves, which makes Kit feel some type of way because he has no family now and Jace is his only family, and he gave him a special ring and obviously made him feel special, but he also like wants to run away, so it's like very conflicting feelings for him. Mark confesses to Emma that he kind of likes Christina, but obviously there's a lot of drama surrounding that, so they won't be getting together for a minute. Despite Emma's plan to stay away from Julian, they end up making out on the stoop of the Institute because they're horny as fuck and definitely not over each other. Also, why do they always do intimate things in public? Like, get a room. Julian has a secret art room where he keeps paintings of you. Make out in there, okay? But then the leader of the Wild Hunt, Gwyn, shows up and interrupts them. He's here to ask Mark to rescue Kieran, who has been sentenced to death for killing Earloff in the previous book. Also, while Gwyn is there, he totally checks out Diana, and we get some major vibes that he's into her. He thinks she's real hot, and he even gives her a special little acorn that would allow her to call on him if she wants. Everyone tells Mark there's no fucking way that they'll let him go to Ferry to rescue Kieran, but obviously he takes off in the middle of the night and does it anyway. Emma, Julian, and Christina follow Mark to the Unseelie Court because they don't want him going alone, but before they enter Ferry, they are stopped by a puka, which is a weird fae that like guards the gate to the ferry. I don't know. The puka takes each of them aside to claim a toll in exchange for promising them that they would each find something they want in Ferry. At this moment in the book, we only know what he says to Emma because that's the only scene that we get, but I'm just gonna tell you everything right now out of sequence. We find it out later in the book, but like I'm just gonna tell you all now because it's on topic. So basically he tells Julian that he'll find someone who knows how to break the parabatai bond in exchange for his father's watch. Christina is told that if she now enters Ferry, fairy, she will get a chance to help end the cold peace in exchange for her hairpin. Sorry, all this storytelling is making my throat dry. Oh my god, I'm dying. People always tell me that I drink this water bottle really aggressively, but I just feel like I'm thirsty, like everyone in this book. He then tells Emma that she will see the face of someone who is dead that she loves in exchange for the Steely that Jace gave her. Obviously, she has a hard time giving up the Steely because that's one of her most prized possessions. And then he tells Mark that going into Fairy will allow him to ride with the Wild Hunt again. And I don't remember what Mark gave in exchange, so whatever. The Puka takes all the stuff they gave him and laughs as he jumps into the sea. That's kind of a weird scene. I don't really know what the Puka is supposed to look like, but for some reason, I pictured a seal, like a man seal. I don't know why. I think it's because he laughs, and don't seals like do that barking, laughing thing? I don't know. That wasn't a good impression. When they first get to Fairy, they are alarmed to find that none of their runes or Shadow Hunter stuff works. So yeah, that's not really working out in their favor. As they set up camp somewhere, Christina hears a distant revel happening, which is basically like a huge fairy party. And Christina's like special topic of interest that she studied throughout the years is fairy. And so when she hears this revel, she really wants to go join them. Mark tells her not to go, but she takes off for it because she's always wanted to see one. And then Mark follows her and they end up dancing together. And Christina drinks some like random fairy drink, which we know from Simon Lewis is never a good choice, but fortunately she does not get turned into a rat. And then two fairies tie a ribbon around Christina and Mark's wrists, which, spoiler alert, is a binding spell, not great. After the revel, Christina and Mark make out real hot and heavy until Christina tells him that without this crazy fairy drink, she doesn't think she would probably do this. And Mark is obviously offended by that because he's like, I want this to be real and you're saying it's fake because of a fairy drink. And so that ends the scene. And then Christina accidentally tells Mark that Julian is in love with Emma because obviously Mark had thought that him and Emma were fake dating because of Cameron Ashdown to like get away from him or something because he was like a bad boyfriend because Emma's a liar. And then he's like, oh, well, you've all been lying to me and today doesn't feel great. Meanwhile, Julian sees what he thinks is Emma in the woods and he starts making out with her. He then discovers that she's actually like an ugly shape-shifting fairy who was just showing him what he most desired, and like her lips have blood on them because she was like biting his mouth. Not cute. From a distance, Emma sees this encounter and she actually thinks that Julian is making out with some pretty fairy girl. So basically this isn't a good experience for anyone. After all this relationship drama, they finally find Kieran, who is being held captive by the Unseelie King and like all these people, and they're basically about to execute him. Julian asks for a trial by combat and the king chooses Emma to compete. She and one of his warriors fight, but when he takes off his helmet, he actually has the face of her father. This is obviously very upsetting to Emma to see her father's face, and it's actually a pretty sad scene where she like kind of has this moment where she's like, Dad, is it you? And then it's not because it's a fairy tricking her, and so she ends up killing him and then they all escape. Back in the human world, we've got Ty, Livy, and Kit following Zara to a cave. What is it with these evil people and having caves? I don't know. And they overhear her plans to take over the LA Institute as she's telling Manuel, one of the other centurions, about this. And basically she hates downworlders and like wants to do really bad things to them. They go tell Arthur about Zara's plan and he is kind of a crazy mess. Arthur admits that Julian has been running things for him for years. Diana walks in and sees what's happening and she takes the kids to her office to explain everything to them. Right after that, we've got sea demons attacking the Institute and they're being led by, what do you know, Malcolm Fade.
Surprise, bitch. I bet you thought you'd seen the last of me.
Malcolm threatens them and tells them that they have one day to give him Blackthorn blood or he will just keep attacking the Institute with his sea monsters. The Blackthorns escape through a portal to the London Institute. Arthur Blackthorn doesn't go with them, which I wonder what Blackthorn blood Malcolm's gonna get. That's not obvious at all. And then back in Fairy again, we have Lady Nerissa's sister Nene. I don't know if that's how you say her name, to be honest. Like, I don't know how to say any of these fairies' names, so it's probably not Nene, but it's any. I'm just going with what the Shadowhunter wiki said. I just, you know, Nene, I don't know how to pronounce it. She ends up rescuing the group and bringing them out of the Unseelie court into the Scaly court just as the Unseelie King's like men are chasing them. They kind of like disappear into like a grassy knoll. She brings them to a place to rest and there they realize that Kieran has some memories missing and so he still believes that he and Mark are together. So that's confusing for everyone because they don't really know how to approach that. While they are there, the Seelie Queen uses her scrying glass to show Julian a vision of Arthur sacrificing himself to Malcolm because, like we said, that was like obviously going to happen. That is also a sad scene to me because I feel like Arthur couldn't offer a lot to his family because of the current state of his mind, which was also a very sad situation. And so this was sort of his like last attempt at doing something right by his family. So Annabelle gets raised with Arthur's blood, but instead of being grateful, this bitch hops up out of her coffin and she just like kills Malcolm Fade. Like she says bye and she stabs him and she grabs the black volume and she just jets. And then the Seelie Queen reveals to Julian that she knows the way to end the parabatai bond. She bargains that if they bring her the black volume and help end the cold peace, she'll help them against the Unseelie King, who's probably planning something nefarious, and help him break his parabatai bond as well. So obviously Julian wants to do that because he wants to fuck Emma all the time and love her too. Not to make it crass, sorry. They also ask Kieran if he will be the Queen's messenger to speak before the Clave, and he agrees by swearing fealty to Christina, which kind of shocks everyone. This new deal means that Mark will have to keep pretending that he and Kieran are dating, which makes him very uncomfortable because he'll have to lie. Emma and Mark also stage a breakup so that they can stop their charade as well. Then the group, now including Kieran, fly away from Ferry on the Wild Hunt horses, making the Pukas final prediction that Mark ride in the Wild Hunt again come true. The whole gang is reunited on the roof of the London Institute. Gwyn flirts with Diana yet again and asks to court her, and she agrees to a date. Ty gives Kit his very first rune, which is a sight rune, and this allows him to see the ghost of Jessamine, which is a major throwback to the Infernal Devices. Apparently Herondales can see ghosts, which I totally forgot about, but once it got brought up in the book, I remembered that Will Herondale spoke to ghosts in TID. So yeah, they can speak to ghosts, and so he talks to Jessamine and she tells him where Malcolm used to live so that they can go like look at his house and figure out if there's any clues there about what's going on. Julian and Emma end up heading to Malcolm's old house, and Christina is supposed to go with him, but as she's leaving with them, her wrist starts bleeding and she is in severe pain. This is when they realize that the ribbon the fairies put on her wrist with Mark wasn't a joke and it was a binding spell, so she has to go back and be close to Mark, so she can't go with Emma and Julian, and so they have to go alone, even though they're trying not to spend time together because they're not supposed to be in love. Julian and Emma finally make it to Malcolm's house, and while they're there, they discover Malcolm's secret journals from growing up and also Annabelle's sketching artwork journal. That makes sense. Is it just called an art journal? It's probably just called an art journal or a sketchbook, whatever, one of those things. They find it and they read through all of these journals, and they find out that Malcolm was raised by the Blackthorns and everyone except for Annabelle treated him really horribly, and so obviously that's how they fell in love. Then we have Diana heading off to Idris to talk to Gia Penhallow, the current council of the Clave. She basically wants to figure out a plan for the LA Institute because she can't take it over for some reason. We'll find out later in the book. And she doesn't want Zara and her father to take it over, so she also wants Gia to know that Zara is lying about being the one who killed Malcolm Fade. While Diana is in Idris, Gwyn actually shows up to take her on this weird picnic date in her pajamas. The date, unfortunately, is cut short when Diana sees an anti-Shadowhunter blight on the land. It's kind of like scorched earth, and she's like, something nefarious is going on here. Back at the Institute, Drew is upset that she's always being left behind. Honestly, while I was reading this book, I forgot about her a lot because I feel like she's not really been a big character so far. So fair that she feels that way because even I forgot about her. She hears a noise in her room and she finds Diego's brother Jaime in there. He has snuck in to speak to Christina, and he obviously thinks that Drew is older than she is, and she doesn't correct him. So I sense a future romance blooming here. Unfortunately, Drew is like 13 years old and Jaime is a lot older. So I don't really know how that's gonna work because the age difference is kind of weird. He tells Drew that he's in hiding, but he can't tell her why, and she still agrees to help him. Meanwhile, Ty, Livi, and Kit go to investigate Blackthorn Hall. They find a crystal there that has some of Annabelle's memories in it, so they take it to the Shadow Market in London, and this warlock named Shade helps them like get the memories out of it. So they see in the memories that Annabelle was tortured by the Clave for the location of the Black Volume. She was also told that Malcolm had abandoned her because he was being kept in the prison in the City of Bones by the Silent Brothers, and he miraculously like disappeared from his cell, and so they were saying that he left her behind to be punished. This trip to the Shadow Market doesn't actually end well despite them getting what they needed, and Livi ends up getting poisoned by a demon, but Magnus saves them and brings her back to the London Institute to heal her. When they get there, Ty is pretty upset because Magnus makes a comment that if she had a parabatai, they could have drawn on the power of the parabatai to heal her, and he feels bad for never agreeing to be hers. Then we have Annabelle showing up at Malcolm's house to talk to Julian. He tells her that he needs the Black Volume to fight the Unseelie King and promises not to use it for evil. She tells him that it was the Unseelie King who told Malcolm how to raise her, and she refuses to give the book to Julian. Emma shows up, and then Annabelle's like, peace, gotta go, and she runs away. Julian and Emma catch some Piskies to force information out of them. They tell Julian and Emma that Annabelle is hiding out at Port Hallow Church. So Emma and Julian go there, and surprise, surprise, it's a trap set by Annabelle. She leaves a note saying that she'll never give them the Black Volume, and that the fact that he went there goes to show that Julian failed the test that she was giving him. I don't really know what the test was. I guess she just wanted to see how bad he wanted the book. And so they have to fight this weird like blood demon thing that was released when Annabelle was brought back from the dead. Basically, I guess like when you resurrect someone, bad stuff comes with it, which makes sense. Like I said, in any fandom ever, resurrection never goes well. Julian and Emma end up beating the blood demon and narrowly escaping. They draw a rune together that burns down the whole entire church that's made of stone, because their parapetite closeness has gotten out of control. Meanwhile, Kieran, Christina, and Mark are having a very sexy moment. Mark and Christina are dancing in the ballroom together when Kieran comes in, and rather than be jealous, Kieran cuts in and says that he wants to show Christina how to really dance, and so they end up dancing together, and like the whole scene is very interesting because we feel a lot of like sexual tension between all three of them. I'm sensing some like threesome, polyamorous vibes. I'm into it. I'm not mad about it. We're here for it. Let's go. Then Ty and Kit take a trip to the Cornwall Institute, and Ty leaves a message for Annabelle. Then we have Kieran meeting up with Adowin to ask him if he wants the throne to like feed into the Seelie Queen's plan to like overthrow the Unseelie King and like make everything better. Unfortunately, Christina follows him, and this backfires because Arek, Kieran's other brother, was also following, and he tries to kill Christina. Kieran saves her, but he ends up killing Arek, which doesn't make his standing with other Fae very good because he also killed Irlath. So things aren't going well for him. And also during this encounter, we also learned that the Unseelie King has sent the 7 riders of Manon after them to retrieve the Black Volume, which is also very, 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 very bad. Speaking of the 7 riders, half of them attack Kit, Livi, and Ty while they're in the city, and Gwyn and Diana show up just in the nick of time to save them. Meanwhile, Julian and Emma are fighting each other because Julian is a diva, like I've said before. He tells Emma that she's the only thing in this entire world that could possibly ever make him happy, and he's always so unhappy because he's got so much responsibility and all he ever wants is Emma, and how can the only thing that could ever make him happy be the only thing he can't have because he's such a whiny baby. So that argument doesn't end well, and after that, they are attacked by the other half of the riders, and Emma manages to kill one of the riders with Cortana, which seems very ominous because apparently no one's been able to kill any of these riders in centuries, and so it's kind of crazy that she did that. And then after that, Emma and Julian are real high on their feelings, and they end up fucking real hard and confessing their love. And Emma waits until after all that to tell Julian about the curse, which seems very convenient for her vagina. Julian also confesses to her that the Seelie Queen told her in order to break the parapetite bond, they actually have to break every single parapetite bond in the world, which doesn't seem like something they should do. And Emma makes him promise that they would never do that, but I'm gonna be real, I don't think Julian agrees with her, and he'll probably do whatever he wants because that's how he is, and he's manipulative. Oh my god, I'm getting so tired giving you these summaries. Okay, let's keep going. After the Institute, Drew takes Christina to meet Jaime. He tells her he never wanted to take the Mexico City Institute away from her family because that was the betrayal that she thought that Diego and Jaime were doing. He says that Diego's engagement to Zara is fake because Zara's family has an heirloom that only a Rosales can make work. She wants to marry into the family, hence the engagement to Diego. Jaime took the heirloom and ran. Then the engagement is gonna drag on because they can't find the heirloom, and he's not really sure how this heirloom works, but it lets people enter fairy undetected, and he hands her a letter from Diego, and then he pieces. Magnus shows up at Malcolm's cottage, and he sees Emma and Julian naked in bed together, and he is shocked, but is he surprised? Because I feel like Magnus has seen a lot of shit from Shadowhunters over the years. He tells them that they have to come back to the Institute because obviously the children were attacked by the other riders and it's a whole thing and they gotta go back. Drew finds a backpack that Jaime left under her bed. There's a weird portal in it that sucks her into fairy. I'm assuming this is the aforementioned heirloom. Also weird that she's able to use it because, like Jaime said, only a Rosales can use it. Now this is turning into a conspiracy theory video. I don't really know. She meets a boy around her age named Ash in this like fairy realm, and he is wearing a crown. He asks her if his mother sent her and if she is like worried about him or whatever. And then Drew hears someone calling her name and she rushes back into her room, and we're obviously probably gonna explore that a little bit more in the next book. I also sense a potential love triangle. Like, I don't know. I feel like Ash and Drew also had some chemistry. We'll see. Diana takes Gwyn to her Idris apartment after they save the children to bandage him up. He asks her why she is so secretive about her life and why she won't let him get close to her. And she confesses to him that she is transgender and she used to actually be named David, and she used mundane medicine to transition, which is forbidden among Shadowhunters. Again, I don't know why they would forgo mundane medicine when it can like do amazing things for you, whatever. And this is why she can't take over the LA Institute, because she's afraid of being found out. And this scene is one of my personal faves because Gwyn is super accepting and he tells Diana that she's an amazing, like, brave woman, and it's just so beautiful. So then we have Kieran and Christina using their fealty bond to summon a projection of Adoin, but unfortunately the Unseelie King is the one that shows up and there's a weird confrontation scene. He tells Kieran that if he testifies to the clave, he will hunt him forever and murder him, and that won't be a great situation. And then he taunts Kieran, telling him that the Shadowhunters have been lying to him, which we all know is true. And he gives Kieran his memories back, and then Kieran remembers that him and Mark broke up, and he's feeling pretty sad and betrayed and used, and it's not a great situation. Julian talks to Magnus about the Parabatai curse, and they both decide that exile would be the best situation for him and Emma because it would slow down the curse. And Magnus suggests they go to Robert Lightwood and tell him everything so that they can set their own terms for the exile, because back in the day, Robert Lightwood was exiled from his Parabatai, and like that was a thing. And then Julian and Emma decide Emma should be the one to be exiled to Mexico so that he can stay with the children. Ty tells Kit that he no longer wants to go to the Skullomance because that was something he was thinking about doing in the first book. He wants to stay with his family and also stay with Kit. I sense a budding romance between them. I'm hoping that is a thing. I would be super into that. Magnus then helps Christina and Mark break their binding spell, and they have to spend a few hours apart to make that work. Diana takes Gia to the forest to show her the blight on the land, and Gia tells her that Helen and Eileen have found similar spots on the map. Seems to me like the Unseelie King is planning something nefarious, something not good. Probably not gonna work out for the Shadowhunters. Christina tries to persuade Kieran to forgive Mark. She tells him that everything Mark has done up to this point has been for his family and he wants to bring Helen home. This leads to Mark and Kieran forgiving each other because Christina is a perfect third member to their relationship. After that, we have the riders showing up at the Institute yet again. Emma goes out to fight them alone because they've kidnapped a human toddler girl. Everyone else rushes out and they begin fighting until Annabelle shows up with the black volume. Annabelle tells the riders that she knows the Unseelie King's true name, and that is really bad mojo for Faye. So they get really scared and they actually do take off because they don't want to be responsible for letting the Unseelie King's real name leak. We find out that Annabelle actually came to the rescue because of the letter that sweet baby Ty wrote to her. She tells Julian that the letter was very genuine and she shows it to him when they meet in private. Before Julian meets alone with Annabelle, Emma tells him to please not promise anything that he can't deliver, but obviously Julian is a dumb bitch and we know he's going to do that. Julian asks Annabelle to come to Idris to testify in front of the council. She agrees on a few conditions, one of them being that Magnus has to be there with her. Julian also promises her that she can have the Blackthorn Manor, so that's a big deal. And then also she wants Julian to be there as well. well. Julian also sneaks some pictures of the black volume with his cell phone while Annabelle isn't looking. I don't know about you, but I feel like he's going to try to break the parabatai bond by himself. Everyone portals to Idris together, and Julian and Emma speak to Robert Lightwood first thing. He reluctantly agrees to their exile terms when they appeal to his emotions, and then the rest of the group assembles in the council hall. Even Helen and Aline show up, and the Blackthorns have a bit of a reunion. Annabelle is in a separate office with Magnus, Gia, Robert, Julian, and Kieran. Magnus suddenly collapses and they have to send for Alec. Annabelle starts freaking out about testifying without him because that was part of the deal. Gia tells Annabelle's story to everyone in the council hall. Zara keeps shouting from the peanut gallery because she's worried everyone will find out that she didn't actually kill Malcolm. Annabelle appears and tells everyone her tale. Zara gets the crowd riled up. They start calling Annabelle a liar and calling her like a zombie, dead. I mean, they don't use the word zombie, but you know what I'm saying. They're like, she's a dead thing. Why can we believe her? Julian interjects and says that Zara is a liar and she's actually not the one that killed Malcolm, and Annabelle confesses that she is the one that killed him. Someone yells that Annabelle should testify with the mortal sword, and everyone starts yelling insults at her, and she gets progressively more anxious, and Julian begs them not to do this because she was tortured by the mortal sword. Annabelle wearily takes the sword and she starts to be asked questions by Gia, but like I said, she was getting very progressively anxious. It doesn't work out great because Robert Lightwood starts to come at her at one point and she stabs him through the chest and he dies, and that's not gonna go over well. Meanwhile, Kit, Alec, and Kieran are with Magnus in the infirmary. Apparently, what's wrong with Magnus is affecting warlocks all over the world, and so something freaky is afoot. Diego comes in to bring Kieran to the Skullomance because Christina asked him to protect Kieran. At first, Kieran doesn't want to go with him, but then after they talk it out, and because it's what Christina wants, Kieran agrees and the two of them leave. In the hall, Julian tries to talk down Annabelle, but she's gone crazy, and Emma ends up having to fight her with Cortana. And when Cortana and the mortal sword clash, the mortal sword actually shatters. Like, what the fuck is Cortana made of? I feel like that's gonna have to come up in the next book too. Livi rushes up to give Julian a weapon, but Annabelle for some reason decides to take this moment to jump past Julian and take the little like stump of the mortal sword and just drive it right through Livi's heart. And through mine, and through yours, and through anyone who read this. It's just, honestly, I'm tearing up a little bit talking about this. Ty falls to the ground, clutching his heart because they have got that weird like twin connection and he can feel the pain that she's dying. And then Julian rushes towards her body and like holds it and tries to put runes on it, but she's already gone. And then he's talking to her and asking her to stay, but she's already dead, and it's just so sad. Emma watches all of this unfold and she is filled with rage, understandably so. And so she turns around to kill Annabelle herself. And just as she turns around, there is this dark smoke that overtakes Annabelle and she disappears from the council hall. And in the smoke, you see the Unseelie King's symbol. And so you know that it's him that took her. And so that's going to be very interesting because now obviously Annabelle has had a break mentally and she has lashed out and Julian has broken all his promises to her. So I don't know if Annabelle is going to team up with the Unseelie King or not because she knows that he's evil and she also has the black volume with her. There's a lot of things just like riding on this, and that was quite the cliffhanger that it ended with, and I can't believe that Queen of Air and Darkness comes out this week. We're gonna get our answers, but also I read online that Cassie Clare also says that she doesn't answer everything for us in this series and we're gonna have to wait for the Wicked Powers, and I'm stressed. Also, it stresses me out how long it took to make these videos, so I really hope that you guys enjoyed these recaps. Let me know down below if you enjoy this concept of Sara's summaries. Let me know some series that you'd like me to do this with. Obviously, they have to be series that I actually read because if not, then that's not good. Like obviously like maybe when the 4th Diviners book comes out, maybe I would do that for that. Although I can't even like fathom making 3 of these videos. Also, I hope you forgive me for how much I had to read off my computer screen for this video. I feel like I was just revealing to you how clumpy my mascara is. So I was just honestly roasting myself. So yeah, let me know down below what you thought. Thank you all so much for watching. You're all beautiful. Have a nice day.